Riley Carter's boots echoed through the hallway like warning shots. Every student knew that sound. It was the rhythm of someone who didn't give a damn. She moved through Ridge Hill High with the kind of confidence that wasn't taught, it was built. Brick by brick, on the rubble of detentions, bruises, and silence. Her black hoodie barely passed the dress code. Her eyeliner was too thick, her attitude thicker. And then there was Juliet Evans. Sitting in the front row with her posture straight and her hair tied neatly behind her ears, Juliet was everything Riley wasn't: soft-spoken, always prepared, always early. The kind of girl who turned in assignments before the deadline and asked for extra reading. Her notebooks were covered in pastel stickers. Her world was calm, color-coded, and disciplined. Riley hated her. Or maybe, Riley didn't understand her, and that felt close enough to hate. In biology class, Riley always made a game of interrupting Juliet's answers. She'd toss pencil shavings on her desk, or whisper mockingly as Juliet explained something about mitosis. "Look at you, Evans," Riley murmured once, just loud enough for the row behind her to hear. "Talking like a textbook. Maybe try sounding human sometime." Juliet never turned around. Never responded. Not with words. But she had this look. A glance over her shoulder, not angry, not scared, just steady. As if Riley didn't intimidate her. And that? That got under Riley's skin more than she wanted to admit. It was 2 weeks into October when Riley's world shifted, not with a bang, but with a board announcement over the intercom. Students failing 2 or more subjects will be assigned academic support tutors. You will be notified by your advisor. Riley rolled her eyes. Great. Babysitter time. By the end of the day, a note appeared in her locker. Tutoring assignment, room 2B, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Assigned peer tutor, Juliet Evans. She stared at the name. Then crumpled the paper. But she still showed up. Room 2B was quiet when Riley walked in. Juliet sat at a desk near the window, her books already neatly arranged. A soft breeze lifted her hair. She looked up. "You came." Riley smirked. "Don't sound so surprised." "I'm not," Juliet replied, calmly. "But I wasn't sure if you'd be on time." Riley dropped into the chair across from her. "Guess I'm full of surprises." The silence between them stretched, until Juliet opened her notebook. "Let's start with algebra. I heard you're failing it." "Oh, you heard?" Riley leaned back, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Word spreads fast among overachievers, huh?" Juliet didn't flinch. "I'm not here to fight you, Riley. I'm here to help." Riley blinked. No mockery. No pity. Just help. For a second, her defenses faltered. They didn't get much work done that day. Riley barely paid attention. But she kept watching Juliet, the way she calmly explained formulas, the quiet patience in her voice. And when Juliet packed up, she looked at Riley and said, "Same time Thursday?" Riley shrugged. Whatever. But she was already planning to be there early. The second session went better. Riley actually opened her textbook. Juliet noticed, but didn't say anything. She just nodded when Riley solved a problem correctly. By the third week, Riley was asking questions. Real ones. And Juliet was smiling more often. Something unspoken settled between them. A quiet understanding. During one session, Riley noticed Juliet had painted her nails, a soft lavender shade that shimmered in the sunlight. She kept stealing glances. "Is that a new color?" she asked, surprising even herself. Juliet looked up. "You noticed?" "I'm not blind." Juliet smiled, not sarcastically, but sweetly. "Thanks." Riley quickly looked back at her notebook, heart stammering for no good reason. They began talking about more than homework. Books. Music. College dreams. Favorite weather. Riley found herself laughing, genuinely, for the first time in weeks. And Juliet? She watched Riley like she was discovering something new every day. It was a Thursday when the sky opened up without warning. Rain pounded the school's roof like a drumline. Juliet stared out the window, frowning. I didn't bring my umbrella. Want a ride? Riley offered before she could stop herself. Juliet blinked. You drive? Technically. Yes. The drive to Juliet's house was silent, save for the hum of the heater and the rain on the windshield. When they reached her front porch, Juliet hesitated. You want to come in for a bit? Just until the rain eases up? Riley hesitated. But nodded. Juliet's room was nothing like Riley's. Soft colors, string lights. A bookshelf full of novels organized by genre. Riley walked in slowly, taking it all in. It's like a Pinterest board threw up in here, she joked. Juliet laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. They sat on the floor, sharing warm mugs of cocoa Juliet had made. A Taylor Swift song played quietly in the background. It felt cozy. Unfamiliar. But nice. Then the lights flickered. Oh no, Juliet said. Power lines are always like this during storms. Sure enough, the house went dark a moment later. Juliet lit 2 candles from her desk drawer. Their flickering glow cast soft shadows over her face. Riley stared. You look different, she said quietly. Juliet tilted her head. In a good way? Riley nodded. Yeah. Really good. They sat on the bed, side by side. The air buzzed with something unspoken. Riley turned. I need to ask you something. Okay. Why didn't you ever fight back? When I was awful to you? Juliet looked down at her hands. Then up, into Riley's eyes. Because I knew you weren't really angry at me. Riley swallowed hard. Juliet reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from Riley's cheek, and something inside Riley collapsed. I don't know what I'm doing, she whispered. Me neither, Juliet said. Then they leaned in, and their lips met for the first time. It was gentle. Hesitant. But it lingered. It meant something. And when they pulled away, nothing felt the same again. When Riley woke up, she was still in Juliet's room. She'd fallen asleep without meaning to, curled up on top of the blanket, her hoodie half-zipped, the rain still whispering against the windows. Juliet was already awake, sitting cross-legged beside her on the bed, reading. For a moment, Riley just stared at her, the calm way her eyelashes fluttered as she read, the way the morning light touched her hair like a halo. It felt like waking up in someone else's life. A better one. Juliet glanced up. Hey. Hey, Riley croaked, throat dry. I didn't mean to crash here. It's okay. You look peaceful. Riley sat up slowly. About last night. Juliet closed the book. We don't have to label anything yet. If you're not ready. I don't know what I am. Juliet smiled gently. Then let's just start with breakfast. Downstairs, they made pancakes, Juliet flipping them skillfully while Riley stood beside her, completely useless and oddly content. They didn't kiss again that morning. They didn't need to. What happened between them lingered in every glance, every pause, every pass me the syrup that felt like a love song. The weeks that followed were a quiet kind of magic. Tutoring sessions still happened, but now with knees touching beneath the table and hands grazing when they passed books back and forth. Sometimes Riley would lean in a little too close. Sometimes Juliet would rest her hand on Riley's wrist just a second longer than necessary. They weren't officially a couple. No one knew. But something real was blooming in that silence. One night after tutoring, Riley offered to walk Juliet home. It was cold, and their breath came out in soft clouds. Juliet looked up at her as they stood in front of her gate. "You know, for someone who used to slam my locker door shut, you're surprisingly sweet." "I'm still a menace," Riley muttered. "Just a reformed one." Juliet reached for her hand. "You're more than that. You just don't let people see it." Their fingers laced together, naturally, perfectly. No kiss that night. Just warmth. It happened on a Friday in November. Juliet had invited Riley over for a movie marathon. Her parents were out of town again, and she'd stocked up on popcorn, blankets, and soft lighting that turned her room into something out of a dream. They watched Pride and Prejudice, Juliet's favorite version, and Riley pretended to hate it, but kept glancing at her during the rain scenes. By the time the second movie rolled around, they were under the same blanket. Riley's arm had naturally found its way around Juliet's shoulder. Juliet rested her head on Riley's chest. "This okay?" she whispered. Riley tightened her arm. "Yeah." Juliet shifted slightly to look up at her. "You're shaking." "I'm not used to this," Riley admitted. "This kind of quiet. This kind of being held." Juliet's hand found Riley's and squeezed it. "Then let me hold you tonight." And so they lay there, fully clothed, wrapped around each other, their bodies fitting like puzzle pieces. The kisses that night were slow and lingering. Between soft giggles and breathless silences, they explored each other's mouths like language, their hands never straying too far, but enough to feel every inch of shared emotion. They fell asleep like that. Intertwined. Safe. Rumors started small. A classmate saw them walking too close. Another caught a glance that lasted too long. Juliet's friends noticed she stopped texting during their hangouts. Riley's group started making comments. "You're getting soft," one of them said. Riley laughed it off, but it stung. And at school, Juliet was quieter than usual. She kept looking over her shoulder. They hadn't said it out loud, but being seen scared them. One lunch period, Riley sat on the edge of the courtyard, arms crossed. Juliet joined her with 2 coffees. Riley didn't take hers. Juliet looked down. "Are you mad?" "No." "Then what?" "I'm scared I'm ruining your life." Juliet gently reached for her hand. "You're not ruining anything. You're the only part that feels true right now." Riley didn't cry. But her throat burned for hours after. It was winter break. Snow drifted outside Juliet's bedroom window. Soft music played from her phone, a playlist they'd made together. Riley had stayed over again. But this time was different. The tension between them had shifted, no longer hesitant, but ready. Their kisses were deeper. Their breathing synced. As Riley gently pushed Juliet's hair away from her face, she whispered, "Are you sure?" Juliet cupped Riley's cheek and nodded. "I've never been more sure of anything." They moved slowly, reverently. Clothes fell away, but nothing felt rushed or dirty. Their fingers traced stories into each other's skin. They giggled through nerves and gasped through discoveries. It was tender, human, warm. Every kiss on the shoulder, every whispered "you're okay," every tremble of breath, it made them feel seen in a way no mirror ever could. And when it was over, they didn't speak. They just held each other, skin against skin, heartbeat to heartbeat, under the soft glow of fairy lights. Not everyone took it well. One day, Juliet's parents found a photo, a candid Juliet had saved, Riley's arm around her waist, both of them glowing. It led to yelling. Tears. A slammed door. Juliet showed up at Riley's apartment that night with puffy eyes and shaking hands. Riley let her in, wrapped her in a blanket, and just held her. "I don't want to be a secret," Juliet whispered. "You don't have to be. Even if it costs me everything?" Riley looked into her eyes. "I'd rather have you in the open than pretend I don't know the taste of your kiss." And so they told the truth, to everyone. Some people left. Some stayed. But they didn't hide anymore. They graduated hand in hand. Riley got into a local college for psychology. Juliet was accepted into a writing program. They moved in together, a small apartment with creaky floors and a window that faced the sunrise. Life wasn't perfect. There were fights over laundry, missed alarms, and bills. But there were also midnight dance parties, takeout in bed, and Sunday mornings tangled in each other. Riley would wake up to Juliet scribbling poems at the kitchen table. Juliet would fall asleep to Riley tracing gentle circles on her back, and every day, their love deepened, not with grand gestures, but with quiet, persistent presence. Years later, on a cold December night, Riley surprised Juliet with a single candle. "Why the candle?" Juliet asked. "Because it was raining that night," Riley said, voice low. "And you lit a candle when the lights went out. That was the night everything changed." Juliet smiled, tears in her eyes. "I still see you the same way," Riley whispered. "Soft. Brave. Mine." They kissed, long, slow, full of everything they'd survived. And in that warmth, they knew, what started in silence had grown into the loudest love of all. Not loud in sound, but in truth.